Hi, everyone. It's Maria Boynton. Thanks for joining me today. My guest is the Fulton County District Attorney, Fani Willis. Fani, how are you doing?
I am excellent. I'm just so happy to be here with you today.
Of course, spring has sprung.
Spring has definitely sprung.
You got a lot going on in your office when it comes to community ideas and things of that nature, right?
Absolutely. We are doing a lot of great things for the community, and this is one of my favorite times of year. We have just wrapped up what we call Victim Witness Week, and it's celebrated all over the country. We made sure we did things that really take care of our victims. We just wrapped up an event that we call Self-Care Day, where we make sure that victims are treated to massages and Reiki, and we talk about things that are uplifting, because we don't want the label of victim on them. They're human beings that have gone through a traumatic experience, and so that is one of my favorite experiences every spring. But of course, we're getting ready for other events. Just this upcoming Tuesday on the 7th at the Georgia International Center down in College Park, we are having a fair that takes care of our seniors. In that, they will be able to learn all of the things where people are trying to victimize them. They'll learn great ideas to keep themselves safe. Also, it's wonderful because we collaborate with the clerk's office. They'll be able to get their passport there. And then also with the probate clerk, probate chief judge will be offering services for them as well. So it's a really great event where we really take care of our seniors, and that's coming up this Tuesday on the 7th.
We had an initial interview with you some time back where you talked about the job of district attorney and how basically it was your dream job. So how does it feel being in that job?
Oh, it's amazing. It is my dream job. I truly believe I was built for this experience. And one of the reasons that I think this service is so important is because you can bring progressive ideas that are uplifting to the community. And guess what? Those ideas impact crime and crime going down. I'm not sure if you know, Dr. Boynton, but Atlanta and Fulton County has the third highest drop in America for crime. And I truly attribute to that to a tough on crime approach where we're not taking any mess off of those that want to violate our members in our society. We're taking a hard stance against gangs, but we are also starting programs like REACH. Our REACH graduation will graduate almost 400 children this upcoming Wednesday on the 8th. We have been with those children the entire school year, making sure they got good life skills, making sure they got anger management, making sure they knew that we believed in them, we loved on them for the entire year, and we're investing in them so that they know that they have bright futures and a life of crime is not the way to go.
The job of district attorney, I'm sure that you get bombarded with criticisms on both sides of the issue, whether you are trying to help someone or whether you're trying to put someone away, right?
Absolutely. You're going to get criticized on both sides of the aisle. But, you know, one of the reasons that I was excited to come here today is because you said your interest was women in politics.
Yes.
And how difficult it is sometimes to be an African-American woman in politics. And so I think one thing about being an African-American woman is that we are often attacked from the time we are very young. There are many studies that say that even young African-American girls are looked at as being older or more promiscuous by doing nothing other than being African-American. So I can stand in this position and withhold all of the criticism, take it all on, and kind of brush my shoulders off and keep moving, because I know that having me in this position is too important. It's important because other young girls of every nationality can look at me and I can be a role model for them. It's too important because when I see people that look like me, I do not judge them by that look. We can make sure that they are provided the services that they need to thrive. It is too important that they have someone that only judges them by their actions and not by anything else. And so it is important that African-American women serve in these roles. But I'll be the first to tell you, and I hope that we inspire some young women today, you got to have a little tough skin. It's okay to be attacked and still do what you know is right for the community. And sometimes what is right from the community is that we have to remove someone from the community so they don't continue to rape, so they don't continue to murder, so they're not out here committing armed robberies, because we deserve to live in a safe community, no matter your zip code, no matter if you're wealthy or if you're struggling. You deserve to live in a safe community. But it is also equally important that we have programs like diversion, where if one of our young people makes a bad mistake, we can give them a second chance on life and not just throw away the key on what we know is our future.
And when it comes to representation and African American representation, along with what you just said, why is it so critical that you have African Americans in positions to make those decisions when it comes to matters of the judiciary?
It's important for a lot of reasons. First, I wonder if your listeners know that less than 2% of all elected district attorneys across the United States are African American women of color. And so it's often strikes me that I'm a unicorn sitting in this position. But it is important that you have a woman standing here, one, so other women know that they can do the job. It is important that you have an African American woman standing here, because I look like and I represent the community. But I also have a sensitivity to some of the needs of the community. I'll tell you a funny story, and it's a recent attack on me, and it's a silly attack. And I thought, there is just a cultural difference sometimes that strikes people. Somebody called me and they said, "Oh, they're complaining against your office. You hired a relative." I said, "I didn't hire any relative. Like, what the heck are you talking about?" And I think the reason they think that is because I called a lady my auntie. I don't think they know in the Black community, I got about 1,000 aunties and 100 play cousins.
I had to get used to that.
Yeah,
though.
you had to get used to play cousins and aunties. Well, they're all across America. And sometimes, why is that important? Sometimes you will have witnesses come in and they are relating and communicating in the way that they do, the way that will be familiar to the community. But if you don't have the right people sitting and listening, they can often get mistaken, and therefore messaging is not true. And so it's one reason I've made sure my staff is very diverse. It's about 40% Caucasian. It's about 10% just other, kind of all of the races. It is probably about 50% African American. Also, we have, any sexuality, bisexuality, homosexuality. We have different religions. It is very, very important that when you have an office, you have representation at the table, so that when we communicate with that constituency, that they are actually heard and understood. And sometimes you need the same cultural experience to do that. And so it's extremely important that we sit in these roles. It's extremely important that when those young men come into the courtroom, that they have someone that looks at them and is not just willing to throw away the key on them. I remember when I was getting my own children ready for school, and I remember a very sad message that my mother conveyed to me, and it was that you just can't put your children everywhere. And I said, well, why? As long as I put them with educators, they should be absolutely fine. And she said, well, everybody don't love Black children. And that was a hard message as a new mom, because I'm thinking, who can love these pretty little daughters that I'm raising? But I found that to be true. I shared with you when I just came in here, I had the privilege of last week going and speaking at NABCO, which is the National Association for Black Commissioners. And I met a gentleman who is a commissioner down in Florida. And he is the president of that association. When I tell you an absolutely brilliant man. He is an attorney. He's been head of the minority party down there. He shared with me his story, and it reminded me how important it is we have representation. As a child, or as a young person, both his father and his brother were murdered. And so when he was matriculating during the school system, some psychologists talked to him, and he drew the picture of a gun. Well, we know that's probably relevant to what he had seen, what he had been exposed of. Well, they categorized him as slow.
Put him in a box.
They put him in a box, and they put him in special classes. And that impacted his entire educational system. Now, he has a great book out, and I wasn't here to promote it, but he conquered those odds.
Yeah.
But how many of our children, our Black boys, let's just tell the truth, are put in boxes like that, and no one sees their full potential, and therefore they are judged. It is important in the judicial system that people see young Black boys with value. And so when I see these young men, I automatically see value. That is all I see in them. And as a result, I'm not willing to throw them away. That does not mean if you do something that's going to hurt someone else, you're not going to be held accountable. You're absolutely going to be held accountable. But I'm willing to take the resources of my office and pour into you, so you know that there are people that love you. You know that there are people that want to pour into you. And there are people that know your potential. Just like that young man had somebody who believed in him. So despite the fact that he was put into the box, he was able to overcome it. I want to make sure that I am here sitting in the seat of district attorney, making sure that our young people, even that make the bad decisions, have someone who doesn't judge them just for being black, who will continue to pour into them and will make them productive citizens.
So I'm sure you get criticism about spending monies from the Office of District Attorney on such programs. Do you or do you not?
Oh, no, I have been challenged on how can you justify spending money on a program that targets junior high school and high school students. And so I often tell them the story, and I give credit where credit is due. The superintendent of Fulton County School Systems, Looney, who is a Caucasian male, he called me at the beginning of not this school year, but last school year, and he said, D.A. Willis, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about our children. And I said, well, what's the concern? He said, we are seeing an uptick of violence in the school. People were just coming back from COVID, so very brutal fights. But also even more concerning, we're seeing guns in the school, and I need some help. And honestly, when he called, I was taken a little aback because I'm like, I'm not an educator, I'm the prosecutor. Mm-hmm. But what we did is we put our heads together and we decided, what can we do to make sure that these children are not catching criminal charges when they come to school, but instead are there to get their education. And so what we came up with is the program REACH, which is not an acronym. It literally means what it says. We are reaching to our children. And when we are reaching to our children, we are putting them in a class that's all year long. So it's not just we pop in for a day. Mm-hmm. We are there every week of the year, and we are teaching them about anger management. How do you do conflict resolution without having a fight or going to get a gun? We also teach them about career opportunities. We expose them to college and trades.
During the entire school year?
During this entire school year. Mm-hmm. We are in there teaching them about their self-worth and all that they can become. And we are also teaching for them this myth. There are so many people that, they are taught to distrust law enforcement. But as you know, I have 90 sworn police officers that work for me. Mm-hmm. Many of them are African-American men, and they love those young boys in the school system. And so they take part of their day to go and be a part of those boys' lives, because we also want to create some future police officers. And we want them to know that this is a viable, respectable career, that they have every potential to become a lawyer or a prosecutor. And we expose them to other careers, graphics, computers, IT. And what we have learned is the anger management is good. Mm-hmm. The career opportunities, exposing to them, that is good. But what our babies need most of all is just the encouragement to know that someone believes in them. And so when people question me about spending my budget like that, I tell them we got a choice. You can see them in the courtroom or you can see them in the classroom. If you see them in the courtroom, that means we created a victim and a great expense to this society. If we see them in the classroom, we never see them in the courtroom. So you choose. Yeah. Same thing with diversion. I am saving the state millions of dollars because instead of putting the scarlet letter of an indictment on someone, we are making the decision to not indict, but to make you pay back the society by, one, taking classes so you can understand how your crime impacted. 2, by doing community service that restores. 3, by paying restitution, which means I get my victim their money back even faster. And 4, we don't have to just monitor you for all this time. And so what we find is doing these programs, it doesn't cost the state money. It actually saves the state money. So I am willing to take that criticism because what I know is we are creating less victims. And people are going to say, oh, she's bragging. Crime is down. Crime is down all across the nation. Crime is down all across the nation 3 to 5%. We can sit here and say our crime is down 25%. Homicides are down 21%. That means there are many, many mothers that didn't bury their child because of how we are going after violent offenders fiercely, but also because we are doing programs that are saving our children.
Wanted to talk to you ever since, I was at a program for your office. And how many employees do you have actually?
Well, at this time, and that's something we can talk about, I'll come back for that discussion right now. At this time, we have about 380 employees. As I said, 90 of them are sworn officers, about 150 lawyers. I got a commission that I'm fighting with because they are actually trying to take lawyers and investigators from me, which cannot happen. If it happens, we cannot do this job effectively. It is being done now more effectively. And we're still not staffed the way that we should be. If you look at our numbers compared to other major cities that compare, we do not have all the lawyers and investigators we need, but we're doing all we can with the resources we do have.
Well, I asked you that question because you have so many departments and you cover so much in that area, and you represent Fulton County, Georgia. What do you say to the little girls who want to be the next Fani Willis?
What I say to them is, I'm just a regular around the way girl. Being me is very attainable, but it's not going to be given to you. You're going to have to go get it. And the way that you go get it is that every opportunity you have, you use it and you work as hard as possible. So when you're in school, whatever that lesson is, you learn that lesson. You become the best at that lesson. When you have an opportunity to go to college, you go. You may say, my family doesn't have money. There are scholarships that you can get, that you can look for. I'd ask them to call my office. We don't have the money to give you, but we will try to put you with a mentor that can help you to get those resources. But take advantage of those opportunities and work your little behind off becoming perfect in that. Learn it, learn it, learn it. You don't have to be Fani Willis. I'm an attorney. You can be a doctor. You can be a computer scientist. You can be an entrepreneur. There is absolutely nothing you cannot be, and you should not believe the lies or the pigeonholes that they want to do. They often tell little girls there's something wrong with being pretty and smart. There's nothing wrong with being pretty and smart. They need to be their full girlness. They need to embrace being a girl. They do not need to allow people to criticize them for being a black girl or a black woman. They need to embrace being a black girl and a black woman. And they can be that and be excellent. You know, we often hear this phrase, black excellence. I am not black excellence. I am just excellence. I just got the benefit of being a black woman.
Okay, everyone. We're talking to District Attorney Fani Willis from Fulton County. Okay, everyone, and we're back with Fani Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney. So there's been quite a bit going on in your office pertaining to you. Earlier in the interview, you talked about criticisms and things of that nature. The scrutiny that you've come under lately. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
I feel great. We out in these streets winning. And the reason we are winning is because the community knows my heart. The community knows that we are an office of service. The community knows from the day that I got here, I ask people from the time that they interview, what do you do for community service? Tell me about yourself more than just being a lawyer. Do you actually have a heart of service? And that is altruistic to serve, but it is helpful to the prosecution of crime as well. When people see me, they know that they can expect to see me at the book bag drive, that we are going to participate in Thanksgiving drives, that we are going to do things around the holidays. We're going to make sure our children have coats. We're going to be in the school system. We're going to restrict records. And what that does is it gives the community confidence that we are out here loving on them because we believe in this community. Fulton is my home. It is where I raise my children. It is important to me. I love this county, and this county has loved me back. And so those that are criticizing, they don't really understand the relationship that I have with my constituency or my community. They know who I really am. They know what my heart is. They know that we are making this community safer. And so they just sitting out here confused as to why are we still so appreciated by the community. And they know it's because we're going to show up and show out every time, not for me, but for the protection of our citizens.
Were you shocked or were you at all surprised about the scrutiny that hit you, that sent you into a courtroom to defend yourself?
I'm never surprised about the scrutiny that I get. I tell people that one thing that I have enjoyed my entire career is that I've been underestimated. I remember having a trial partner that I love dearly, and I'm going to actually name him. His name is Ron Boyder. He's a white male, and he's now at the Attorney General's office. a brilliant lawyer. And I can remember us many, many years ago preparing for a trial. And I think he thought, like, you're just doing too much. Like, you're doing everything 3 times. You're making sure your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed. Like, you've tried a lot of cases. You're an excellent trial lawyer. Like, why are you staying here till midnight and 2 a.m. to prepare? Like, I'm worried about you kind of killing yourself to do this. And I explained to him, when I walk into the courtroom as a black woman, people assume I don't know what I'm talking about and what I'm doing. And so what I have made it my practice to do is to outwork everyone. So I tell people all the time, I may not be the smartest lawyer you've ever met, but what you are going to find is nobody can outwork me. And after 28 years of working that, I got pretty smart on them too. So that work ethic and being critiqued and criticized, it is something that I've experienced since I was a child. Being underestimated is something that I've experienced. And being attacked, unfortunately, it is part of the African American experience in this country. And so it is not knocked me off my square, as they say. It's just part of the job. I'm willing to take it. When you sit here and you agree to put yourself up for public service, you have to know that you're going to be attacked, but you have to keep your eye on the prize. And for me, the prize is making sure that my community is safe.
What about your family's safety? I mean, I'm sure you undergone some threats. We talked previously about all of that and things of that nature. You talked about when they call you names, it's what you answer to. I remember that quote from you. The threats against your family, I'm sure that brought some hurt to your heart. Had to.
There have been only 2 things that have bothered me, honestly, and you hit it right on the head. It's kind of like you can talk bad about me, but not my family. I do not appreciate anybody bringing my children in this. I am still a mother, and they are innocent. They did not choose this profession, so that's just kind of low down and dirty. But there are folks that are willing to lie, so, they do what they do. And so I have seen things about my children. Recently, I saw a lie about my mother, just a complete lie about my mother, and that kind of upset me. Honestly, when they talk about my dad, it doesn't bother me the same because as he calls me his lioness, I came from that lion, and I know he don't care about the attacks. He has been an honorable man. He has had a life of service, and so it does not bother me. But when you attack innocent people, it really is not a reflection on me. It's a reflection of your character. And so I am not worried that they are showing their character when people choose to attack my mom or attack my children. I'm surprised that the press has done that sometimes. I'm surprised. And I'm really surprised sometimes at the level of lack of investigating before a journalist would put that up. I tell people, I grew up in the day of 60 Minutes and investigative journalism, the same day you done. I know you will investigate, fact-checked before you put things out into the air, because that's the way you were raised. You're not going to just put something out there and it's a lie. We have gotten into a day and era where clickbait is all that matters. I can remember one time going to my strategist, Mr. DeSantis, and I said, I read this article and it's not about me. Why is my picture here? And he laughed at me. Like, it's not funny. The article is not about me. Why is my picture here? And he said, because you're clickbait. Your image will make someone open the article. Well, the other thing that I have learned is that flashy headline, that derogatory comment about me or that derogatory comment about my mother or my children will make someone open the article. And so you can't pay attention to journalists that don't have integrity. And what I mean by that is you didn't even do your due diligence in checking to see was this true. It's very easy to check if something is true. I remember a year or 2 ago, they said, the DA did something illegal. She put her niece in this program. And I said, I'm an only child. It's a pretty well-known fact. Guess what that means? I don't have any nieces. And so with just a very little bit of checking, you could have known that what you were saying is a lie. But instead, what you chose to do is try to attack me by putting forth that lie. At this point, Dr. Boynton, it's happened so often, I'm just brushing my shoulders off and continuing to do the work of the people.
Everyone, we're talking to District Attorney for Fulton County, Fani Willis. We're talking to you about women in politics, how crucial representation is when it comes to African Americans in the legal system. And we also are getting you on some other things, too, that have been going on with you. And you mentioned your father, you mentioned your mother, and misstatements and untruths. We saw your father, of course, in the courtroom. How proud of you are of him?
Oh, I am so proud of him. But I got to keep these women off of him. I got women inboxing me talking about, can I get to your daddy? I'm like, oh, Lord.
Oh, he's single.
He's single, yes.
Okay.
And they asking questions about him.
Okay.
So that's kind of funny for me. No, I love that man. He has been just an amazing father to me. I attribute my career to him. You probably know the story of my father was a single father. And so as a very young girl, on Saturdays when he was a young lawyer, like in his early 30s, he would go to the courthouse to pick up clients, people that had been arrested on Friday night. And so I would sit in the courtroom and watch. And that's how I fell in love with the law. Also, I was the best secretary he ever had. I used to put his files together. And so that is really how I fell in love with the law. And I had the kind of father who whispered into me what I want to whisper to these children that are in reach, which is you can be anything. There are no limits on your life. And so because I was told that so often, I started to believe it. And so I'm just very, very blessed to have a person like him in my life. I tell people my daddy doesn't owe me anything. He gave me everything, and just setting such a wonderful example of a man. It's very well known that he was a Black Panther, and I tell people often my father never taught me hate. He would talk about horrible experiences maybe he had that some person did to him that was a Caucasian, right, at the time that he was living. But he would also talk about the Caucasian lawyers that would come to help them and how kind they were and what an integral part of the movement they were, and that the movement has always been made up of great people of every race, and that everyone is entitled to dignity. And so I don't know that part of hate. And so I'm blessed to have that experience. I am blessed that for me, if a victim in my file is a white woman or a white child or an Asian woman or an Asian child or Hispanic, it doesn't matter to me. I love them the same. They have the same value to me, and I fight for them the same. And I have done that my whole career, and that is based on the value system that he taught me. And so I think it is important that there's a natural, women are different than men, right? Mm-hmm. And there is this natural nurturing and care that we have. The position of district attorney, and I would say the position of judge too, because I know you're covering not only district attorneys, but the judiciary.
Yes.
We need people that care. We need that softness in the judicial system. But no one should think because a woman has that softness will prevent them from taking care of their community. But I do have a message to women that are going to run for office.
That was my next question for you.
Okay, well, let's get to it.
So DA Fani Willis, in your life, in your experiences and the things that you're going through, what advice do you have for women, whether it's those who write the laws or those who carry out the laws and those who prosecute? What advice do you have for those women?
My advice for women is to get out your own way. Mm-hmm. The reality is that most of us as African Americans, we don't come from very wealthy families. We come from either impoverished or the middle class, right? Solidly middle class families. And we don't have the money to run these $1 million campaigns and these $500,000 campaigns. And then Black women especially, and that's what I'm going to speak on because I am a Black woman, we are kind of taught from a very, very young age to do it yourself, to go get it. It's very hard for us to ask for help. And I would say in a campaign, that's a detriment to you. No one can do this alone. You need people to help you. You need people to help spread the word. And so you've got to get out your own way, and you have to ask for that help. Sometimes that help is you have to ask people for money, and that's uncomfortable. It is the thing that I still struggle with, so I don't want to be a hypocrite here. It is very hard for me to ask people for help, but the reality is to advertise on the radio or television or to send a mailer, it costs money. So sister, get out your way. Get on the phone and ask people for help. You would be surprised if you asked how many people are willing to help you. But you have to get out your own way. You have to ask people, to text people, to call people, to do things to help and support you. You have to be able to work a room by yourself. Sometimes women are so shy they feel like they can't go to that event by themselves. I have a secret that people probably would not believe. I am naturally shy. So I have this little trick I do to get myself through it. I make sure that I start at the beginning of the room, okay, and I address and speak to every person. And although I am shy, I love people. I love learning their stories. And so what I have a weakness with at this point is I'm willing to sit there more hours than most to make the calls because I want to call and hear your story. I'm not just going to call and ask you for something. And when I am in a room, we're going to know some facts about each other because I'm going to have a conversation with each person. And I just have had to make myself do that. And I think a lot of women, you know, we feel intimidated going into rooms by ourselves. We feel intimidated asking people for help. Well, you're your greatest enemy. How are people going to choose you if you never give them an opportunity to know your wonderful self? And so my advice to women is get out of your own way and get those voices out your head that have told you you are inadequate. You are more than adequate. And you can do it if you just do it.
Another secret. Okay, you say that you're naturally shy. What's your skincare routine? I want to know.
That's just my mama.
Okay.
I'm just blessed. That is my mother. I'm embarrassed to say some water. I do use water, but that's about it.
Your favorite book?
Oh, my favorite book is The Godfather.
Okay. And a great Saturday night for you is what?
Now we're going to do this on the air.
We're winding down. I'm just giving the people a little bit more about Fani Willis.
Well, I think I kind of told them it's probably a slice of a pizza, a veggie, all the veggies you can get on it, and a basketball game, and a Grey Goose martini, and I'm in my happy place.
All righty, everybody. We've been talking to Fani Willis, the district attorney for Fulton County. I want to thank you so much for coming back and sharing with us part of your world.
No, I want to thank you. I think it's a really important topic to talk about the importance of women in the judiciary. And it's important to talk about African American women in the judiciary. And a lot of people wouldn't have the courage to talk about why that's important and necessary. And I thank you for being the type of journalist who's willing to do that.
Everybody, thank you for listening and watching to our interview with Fulton County DA Fani Willis. I'm Maria Boynton.
V103.